This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Carter welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe on a birthday boy. And the birthday boy today for August the 3rd is a hockey icon who played for Detroit, LA, and the New York Rangers in his NHL career between 1971 and 1989, winning the Art Ross in 1980 and 50 goals or more 6 times in his career, 100 plus points in a season 8 times. Played for Canada at a couple of World Cups, World Championships, and Canada Cups. Inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1992, one of the greatest hockey players of all time. His name is Marcel Dionne, known as the Little Beaver. He's 72 years old today. Marcel Dionne played youth with Drummondville and then would play for Drummondville in the Quebec Junior Hockey League. And, he tried his best. Strange as it sounded, Marcel Dionne, even though the Quebec Junior League Hockey League was now called the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, Dionne, for some strange reason, decided to go to Ontario to play in the OHA, the precursor of the OHL, spending 3 years with the St. Catharines Blackhawks, that were once a farm club of the Chicago Blackhawks before the draft era. He won a couple of scoring titles. He was a playoff icon. He helped St. Catharines face the Quebec Ramparts in the 1971 Richardson Cup Finals, because the Memorial Cup worked a whole lot different than it does nowadays. Nowadays, you have the Quebec champion, the Ontario champion, the Western champion, and the host city, or the runner-up in the host city's league if the host city won the playoff championships. Anyway, they would all play round robin, and then the top two teams met in the finals. However, back in those days in 1971, that it was East versus West primarily. So that meant that an Eastern Canadian club would face a Western Canadian club in a best of 7 for the Memorial Cup. So St. Catharines would play Quebec, the Quebec Ramparts. The Ramparts had a young Guy Lafleur on their team, and the St. Catharines Blackhawks had Marcel Dionne, two of the top prospects for the 1971 NHL draft. Of course, the province of Quebec would not let Dionne forget that he moved from Quebec to Ontario, which was weird. Usually you don't do that. Anyway, the 4th game of the series was huge because it was penalty filled. St. Catharines won, but a mob of Quebec fans would destroy the team bus for them. So that was huge and all of that. Game 5 was in a neutral site, but St. Catharines refused to play in Game 6 because of the safeties not being there. So Quebec went to the Memorial Cup final against Edmonton and won. But that would actually be the last time a city in Quebec had won the Memorial Cup until 1996, when Hull, aka Gatineau, were the champions. And it would also mark the last time that this Memorial Cup playoff format happened. After that, in 1972, starting off, the Memorial Cup would be played with the 3 junior champions, the Ontario champions, the Quebec champions, and the Western Hockey League playoff champions. They would do a double round robin, and then the final 2 teams would meet. The top 2 teams would meet in a 1-game finals. Of course, in 1983, they added the host city there too. But yeah, that's what happened. Dionne would be the OHA's top scoring guy until Dale McCourt did so. And yes, Lafleur and Dionne did go 1-2 in the draft. Lafleur went to Montreal, thanks to Montreal shrewdly getting the Golden Seals' first pick in the 1971 draft, and then trading Ralph Backstrom to Los Angeles on purpose so that the Kings would not finish worse than the Golden Seals, which meant that Pollock would have the number 1 pick. Detroit would go second in the draft and pick Dionne. He played 4 years. The Red Wings were terrible. They were kind of in their dead things. era that the Red Wings were in their worst era in team history and all that. Unfortunately, Dionne's frustrations were evident with losing, even though Alex Delvecchio and Mickey Redmond were good players. He hired Allen Eagleson to push for more money. The Red Wings couldn't afford it, and the Red Wings were not happy with Dionne's attitudes. So they traded Marcel to LA for Terry Harper, Dan Maloney, cash and draft picks. Dionne would sign a $300,000 per year contract after Jack Kent Cook, the owner of the Kings, offered him to him. He would play 11 and a half seasons with the Kings and would form the Triple Crown line because, Kings, Crown, you get it. With Charlie Simmer and Dave Taylor. Both were pretty good players. All that. Dionne would have great regular seasons, but the playoffs, the Kings had a lack of success. Only 3 times between 1976 and 1982, they had a 7-year run of making the postseason. Only 3 times they made it to the second round. And in '82, that was when they won the Miracle in Manchester and shocked the Oilers in the first round. Anyway, Marcel Dionne would actually mentor Kings rookies during the 86-87 season, trying to take Luc Robitaille, Jimmy Carson, and Steve Duchesne under his wing and help him out and all that. So anyway, it worked out. Luc Robitaille was the Calder Trophy winner and one of the greatest Kings goal scorers of all time. Jimmy Carson would be a very good goal scorer and was packaged to Edmonton in the Gretzky trade. Let's not forget about that. And Steve Duchesne was a good defenseman, too. Unfortunately, though, there were troubles with the coaching staff and all that. Dionne did not want to be part of a rebuilding project and wanted an upgrade to the roster or a trade to a contender. The Kings decided to do the latter and trade him to the New York Rangers. And in 2.5 years with the Rangers, he got to the playoffs twice, but they lost the first round both times and missed the playoffs once entirely. Dionne knew his time had come and retired in 1989. Dionne has homes in Niagara Falls and Clarence Center, New York, maintaining a business and investment portfolio, buying and selling real estate, and operating a sports dealership in Buffalo. He had some good achievements. In 1980, he put up 137 points, which was tops in the league. Well, actually, not completely tops. He ended up tied with Wayne Gretzky for points. Zverev Gretzky, in his first year in the NHL, actually tied for first place in points. However, the Art Ross Trophy awards ties based on goals, and Dionne did it. He won the Art Ross Trophy. Gretzky would go on to win the next 8, if memory serves me right. Anyway, Dionne would win the Lester B. Pearson Award for Players MVP in 79-80. The MVP voted by the players, not by the media. And the Lady Bean Trophy is both 75 and 77, so yeah, Dionne did it. Dionne became the 3rd man to hit 700 goals and is now 6th on the all-time list with 731 and 6th in points with 1,771, 10th in assists. Dionne is the highest scoring player to never win the Stanley Cup. Heck, even more so, Marcel Dionne is the highest scoring player never to be in the Final Four / conference finals. He played in the 1972 Summit Series. I don't know how many games he played. I think he only played 1 or 2 games. And when he retired, he was the last active player in the NHL to do so. He participated in the Summit Series in practices. He didn't really play. But he did play for Canada in the 76 Canada Cup and 81 Canada Cup. Marcel Dionne was actually on the ice in the 1976 Canada Cup when Canada won the gold medal, the championship, thanks to Darryl Sittler's goal. He was with Sittler and Lanny McDonald. If you remember the call of that goal, Lanny McDonald to Dionne to Sittler, and Sittler scored. He would play with Gretzky and Lafleur on a line in the 1981 Canada Cup, which Canada got their butts handed to them 8-1 in the final by the Soviets. He would win 3 bronze medals in the World Championships with the teams in 78, 83, and 86. Although he was named top forward in 78. Dionne has 800 plus point seasons. He's third, only behind Gretzky's 15 and Lemieux's 10. Anyway, it was huge and all that. The funny, yeah, so Marcel Dionne has an arena in Drummondville named after him. But here's the funny thing. This is a fact I think nobody knew. But Marcel actually had a younger brother named Gilbert Dionne, who actually won the Stanley Cup in 1993. It was weird that Gilbert was 19 years younger than Marcel. It's weird having two kids 19 years apart. 15 is hard. Perhaps, but 19, yikes. Well, Gilbert won the Stanley Cup with the Habs in 1993, so at least the Dionne name got a Stanley Cup. But here's the funny thing. Gilbert Dionne did play in the OHL. Guess who he played for? That's right. Kitchener! Anyway, in his career with the Red Wings, Kings, and New York Rangers, he played 1,348 games, 731 goals, 1,771 points. In the playoffs, he only played 49 playoff games with 45 points. Kind of not really the best thing in his playoff career. He was snake bit by not making the playoffs or being taken out in the first round. So yeah, he played in many All-Star games, inducted to the Hall of Fame in 1992, and you know, he was great. 1971 second overall pick. I mean, number one was Guy Lafleur, so you can't complain about that. But Marcel Dionne was good, very good, and it was weird seeing his little brother win a Stanley Cup, whereas he didn't even get close to the Stanley Cup. C'est la vie. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond, I do.